Hey everybody, Daniel Fusco here. Welcome to today's 2-minute message.
The problem with a 2-minute message is that covering a complex topic thoroughly can be awfully difficult, if not impossible. But let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. I'd never heard of this Daniel Fusco fellow until today, which is odd given how many videos he's built. But as I said, most of them are quite shallow due to the artificial time limit he set for himself. And if it weren't for the fact that faith is, for me, the biggest deal breaker for religion, I probably wouldn't even be covering this one.
So a lot of people struggle with the idea of faith. And people say, how can I have faith in something that I do not see? Which is interesting because that's the exact definition of faith.
Yes, but listen to the question again. They're not asking for a definition, they're asking for instructions or justification. They clearly find faith difficult, if not impossible, if not ridiculous. It helps to answer the question asked, or you're not actually being useful in the conversation.
And a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't have faith because it's not rational or logical. Actually, faith is the most rational thing. See, faith is saying that God is real and God can work even though I haven't seen the outcome. You have all these other examples where you see God do amazing things and you are reading God doing something amazing into something that you haven't yet seen it yet.
And again, this is where 2 minutes is not enough time. What amazing things? I haven't seen anything amazing that can be attributed to a God. And if he means the contents of the Bible, that is a claim that needs proving and not evidence unto itself. And if you really do see all kinds of amazing things, you don't have religious faith. You have reasonable confidence. Religious faith is a belief without or in spite of evidence. But having seen evidence and made a logical deduction from the facts, faith is the very last thing you have.
And I think that's the key to faith. The key to faith is not, I'm just trusting that something random is going to happen. It's like you have an entire life that you have walked where you have seen God do extraordinary things. I mean, even the fact that you're here now, hearing and watching this video, that proves that God has done extraordinary things.
He doesn't show how God is responsible, he just says it. The whole point of faith, religious faith, is believing for no good reason. He says it himself.
The writer of the Hebrews in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
The problem is that faith has multiple definitions, and we've all seen theists swap between them when it's convenient. Because yes, one definition is confidence, but another is belief in something especially without proof or evidence. And it doesn't take much examination of theism to see that religion insists on that kind of faith.
But we have to learn how to read into the future God's faithfulness as it exists in the present moment, before something happens. And living by faith is not being naive. It's simply choosing to trust God before God does what God is going to do.
And again, he is trying to conflate blind faith with confidence. You have to prove God exists before you can have confidence that his, her, its, or their actions will be beneficial.
And that gives God great glory because God is being trusted before we see the deliverance. It's easy to trust God after it happens, but it shows a beautiful faith and a simplicity of faith when we trust him before.
And if that were all faith was about, I'd still think it was silly, but I'd be less inclined to argue against it so vehemently. Because we're told not merely that faith is a virtue, but that we absolutely must have it lest we be thrown into eternal torture after our lives come to an end. It's a terror tactic. It's a threat. Either we get on board, conform, and dedicate our lives, or else. Even aside from the fact that faith is foolish, that, more than anything else, is reason to argue against the idea.
God wants us not to be anxious about tomorrow, but to hope in him for tomorrow and what he's going to do.
Screw that. You can rely on your mystical sky cake. I'm going to rely on myself, my family, and my friends. Wishful thinking can only get you so far and will bite you in the ass if you don't get off it.
Because what I have learned is that when we see the great testimony of how faithful God is, that will encourage us to walk by faith, even though we haven't seen God's fulfillment of a promise.
And similar testimony will tell us that UFOs, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and Rick Astley's career are all real. You're gonna have to do better. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. Well, whoever that is, she's gotta get by us. Go get her, Sandra! Schmoozer the Schmoozerian? Good evening. As a duly designated representative of the YouTube channel BionicDance, I order you to cease any and all trolling activity and return forthwith to your website of origin or to the nearest convenient intranet site. That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Sandra.
Do you believe in God?
No?
Then subscribe!
Sandra, when someone asks you if you believe in God, you say, wait, actually you got that right. Never mind.